Beaver County Board of Commissioners work session for Wednesday, October 7th, 2020. We have a review of work session discussion meeting minutes. No questions or concerns?
Nothing.
All right, we'll move to department head report. Any department heads?
Well, we can't let him off the hook. Mr. Woolley looks like around me now.
How's the snow shovels coming?
The snow shovels.
Hey, keep him on his toes.
Nothing? All right.
Sounds good.
We will move to solicitors.
On the resolution list for tomorrow are 34 resolutions. A good portion of them are ones associated with human services. A couple outside of those are 21 and 25 are tax exonerations. 23 is for computer licensing with the libraries. 26 is our salt that we purchase that we use for road maintenance. We're getting that through CoStars at $80.59 a ton, which I think that did go up from where it was before.
I can remember getting it for $50 and $40 a ton.
32 is a commercial demolition for a building in Eastville. And then 34 it's an extension of a contract. It's for the bridge that is down in Falston, the Brickyard Bridge. That's just extending that contract through the end of the year. Do need an executive session to discuss personal matters and a real estate matter.
I do have a couple of questions if you could look into them. Number 22, U.S. Department HUD, Continuum of Care project that says it's what. I'm not sure I have the details of exactly what that project is. So if you could look into that. And there's another Community Development Block Grant 31 on anti-poverty. It looks like it's discretionary, $179,000. I just like to understand where that's going, how that's being distributed. If you guys could look into that, that'd be.
Okay, I can answer both of those.
Any other questions for the solicitor on anything or the resolutions? Hearing none, we will move to commissioners.
Well, welcome back. Tony.
Thank you.
So it's great to have you back.
It's great to be back.
I don't know how much is on your list, but I got a few things here just to go over. One, I've been working with Push Beaver County and the Conservation District to try and ensure that we have a Maple Syrup Festival next year. They've tentatively scheduled April 24th and 25th. The big issue there is that the Conservation District owns the equipment necessary to make that successful for Push, and they're not in a position to donate that material to Push. Push, because of their lack of ability to fundraising, the great folks there want to do a good job, but they're not in a position to purchase that material. So I kind of like to talk to my colleagues here and see if we can find some funding somewhere to help make sure that that transfer of the griddles and the equipment that's necessary for Push to be successful.
Tourism, can we use tourism money?
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah. I sent a note to Corey, I haven't heard back from him, but somewhere we ought to be able to find some money to be able to transfer that equipment and satisfy both parties and make sure that we're setting Push up for success.
Average 15,000 people per weekend?
Yeah.
What was and you put the cost in roughly? It was like
It's about $12,000 worth of equipment. Now, the Conservation District is donating some stuff that really doesn't have a material value. But what they're doing is they're auctioning off any equipment that isn't necessary for their core mission. And they have built that into their budget. And the rest of the stuff's still going to be auctioned. Things like pickup trucks are no longer necessary, or some of the big collection kettles for the syrup, which Push doesn't plan on tapping trees anymore. So some of that stuff does have a market value, but things like the griddles and the stuff that was in the one building where they served the sandwiches and those kinds of stuff, all that stuff they want to be able to turn over to Push.
Has fair market value been determined on?
Well, they went through with the estimates from the auctioneer that looked at the inventory and the list there. So That's the approximate value
As long as the long.
they had toward it.
We
so.
would, the water department, we would probably donate the money to push, and then they would then move forward.
They would.
Correct.
That was my thinking as well, but
Yeah.
somehow give them the funding and then they'll be able to, and Conservation District, to its credit, I mean, they will volunteer to continue to help them through this thing.
A couple of hours, yeah.
To make sure it's successful. But I just think the event's too important to us not to give the best effort we can in keeping it going and setting push up for success. I'm extremely appreciative of the push folks wanting to take this on and continue the legacy of the Maple Syrup Festival. So,
Tony, can you get with Corey?
Yeah.
And see where, as long as the law department, and Commissioner Medeiros said it, and I agree, and as long as the law department is okay with,
Yeah, using money from the tourism
yeah.
for it.
yeah, I don't know what's available or what other funds.
Probably would need to get something from Push to get something definite as far as what the cost is going to be and have them submit a request to the county.
Yeah.
And we can
I have
take
the
it from there.
spreadsheet that the Conservation District did, but we can work out those details so that both parties understand the transaction. Okay, that'd be great. Just a couple other quick things. I have got a couple more questions about the cafe or vending machines, something as the weather gets colder here.
I have to reach out to a gentleman who was here last week, Chris Gonzalez. He's interested in furthering talks with taking over the cafe, so we'll get something set up, hopefully late, maybe as soon as the law department's available.
We'll make ourselves available.
So, and
Over lunch.
so we can get something set up from there.
Yeah, I just think, with the temperature starting to change, it's, we're gonna hear more comments about the lack of one. We talked about window cleaning. I happened to be in Athens restaurant last week when the window cleaners from the Human Resources building were in there taking a break. Are we going to clean the windows?
I know.
In the courthouse here or not?
It's the same people.
The same people that were doing
Same
that
people
building?
that were doing the human service building, yeah, I think I forwarded on the email to you guys.
Is that the thing I saw for $3,200?
Yeah, it's
34.
choice window cleaning, they're the ones that do it every year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I noticed they just did the Human Resources building. I know my windows have been cleaned for 280 days. That's how long I've been in office.
Mhm.
So I don't know, with all the construction though, I don't wanna waste money on cleaning windows and then have a bunch of dust and stuff just dirting right back up, so. Whatever, but.
Whatever you guys want to do.
We have a JLG out there that could easily do R3.
Yeah.
But let's figure out if there's a way to clean the windows, because they're all in pretty bad shape, especially on the first floor. Also, Holly sent out, there's a hazardous waste collection this Saturday at Brady's Run for people. Advanced registration is required, but that is from 9 to 1 o'clock at Brady's Run, so people that have hazardous household waste. There's also another food distribution. I get another note from the Pittsburgh Food Bank. The Pathways Church in Chippewa from 11 to 1 p.m. is having another drive-through food distribution.
Jack, was there a fee with that hazmat?
I think there are fees, small fees for
Yeah,
different stuff. They weigh batteries,
They take
overload
TVs.
size TVs. They weigh them. There are fees that are involved with that. So
Where do I get one of them?
We'll make you a copy of it.
Thank you.
you can have that. And that's it.
Commissioner? All right. The only thing I have is just a small update. Tony gave me this morning for the CARES Small Business Nonprofit Awards. The first round looks like we're going to be awarding one $1,841,201.51 out to small businesses and nonprofits. There are still a few applications that are still being reviewed as they were turned in on time, but they were incomplete with some of the finances. So Z&A is still reviewing those. 110 total awards are going to be going out for small businesses and nonprofits. Pretty much every business who applied that showed a loss on their P&L from March to July, from 19 to 2020, that even received PPP loan from the federal government, as long as they still showed a loss with the PPP, they're going to be receiving some kind of award. But right now, that's the total. When do we think
I'm
we'll be
preparing
putting the list out?
I'm preparing a transmittal for the controller's office. They did a good job of putting everything into their system, getting vendors ready. So we're at the point I got to prepare a transmittal for them to submit. And we'll be contacting all recipients later this week, as there is a grant certification and a DCD contract that needs to be signed. So we're going to forward that prior to them coming to pick them up, so they have a chance to review.
I think the intention is that they would come in, pick up their check, and sign those two documents here at the courthouse.
Yeah, they'll have the contract prior, so they have plenty of time to review.
Is this something that will come in front of us in a public meeting when they sign
Yeah,
the
so then
ACV
what
contract?
will happen is that once this list is finalized, they'll be approved, there'll be a resolution that's an approval for you guys to approve
Okay.
all of the amounts.
Not
That's all.
110 resolutions.
No, just be under one, just be under one. And then I think our plan was to publish that list on our website showing the businesses, each business has gotten what they received.
Once the full thing is complete, I would assume we could get that list over to Kevin Tussick and put that list on there. Or do we have to wait until it's actually voted on before we put that list?
No, it's one of those resolutions that we pre-sign,
Okay.
as long as you're all right with it, we can then, is the thought, Tony, that within the next week or so, because we'll probably have this on the resolution list for the next meeting?
Yeah, I would
think we
imagine
want-
we're gonna start dispersing checks as soon as next week if possible,
So we'll
and
be on
then
the resolution.
hopefully have
This is one of those we pre-sign.
Well, I think we just need one more pass to look at all of
Yeah.
those and make sure, because I don't know, I've seen everything.
Okay, yeah,
Complete, yeah.
I think up to date, Brian sent something yesterday and I'll forward it along to everyone.
Okay.
And then I think the next step was the municipalities, that we're gonna look, once we get past this wave, that will be the second phase.
Okay.
Good.
I don't have anything else. Move to other business. Hearing none. Audience participation? Matt?
Yeah, two quick questions. Apparently there was a report out that for the elections coming up, that there's gonna be some increased security. Number one, is that true? And number two, how's it gonna work?
So at this time, we have been contacted from voters throughout Beaver County via email or telephone call that there's of course a fear of voter intimidation. I think that probably comes around every presidential election. We don't see it in the off seasons. But with the presidential election being so large and with the mail-in ballots, we met with the sheriff and Doreen Manditti yesterday, Director Manditti, to discuss the process of election day. Normally, we have 4 deputies that roam the county because it is their jurisdiction of the election precincts. It was agreed upon yesterday to put 8, double it. Ultimately, the municipalities also are on call if there's an emergency, but just use Beaver Borough for example. If you are at a polling place, a Beaver police officer can't just come in and check and say, hey, how are things going? There are laws that they have to stay 100 feet away from the polling place unless they're voting or are there for an emergency. So that's why the sheriffs have to be out and seen in the presence. So at this time, the sheriff is planning on putting 8 deputies out during the day and in the evening for the election. And of course, our municipalities are on alert just to be cautious of the claims that might be out there with voter intimidation. And also we are urging residents to wear their mask, practice social distancing, but as we said yesterday, you can't stop someone from going into the polling place to vote just because they're not wearing a mask, and we ask everyone to respect that and not confront somebody who doesn't have a mask. We don't want to see any disputes because there's somebody not wearing a mask in a voter place and then the cops have to be called for that.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid confrontations. The other thing is I learned yesterday was that 27 of those voting districts have a constable, an elected constable that is allowed to be at those polling places to oversee the election process. So I think we feel pretty confident that things will go well and trust the people of Beaver County.
And touching base on the elections real quick, I was notified this morning that there has been a social media post, probably a few of them, of an incident, we'll say, that happened yesterday in the elections office where an individual came to drop off her ballot and her mother's ballot to drop it off. The law is very clear that you can only drop off your ballot. And that's one of the reasons why I think we don't have drop boxes, because the law is clear that you can only drop off your ballot. If there's no one manning a drop box, you could drop off 20 ballots. The claims are that the elections office doesn't know what they're doing because she's allowed to drop her mother's ballot off because she's may have health issues or disability issues that she can't come physically to the courthouse. I want to make it clear that when that individual left the courthouse yesterday, she was informed by the elections office that she had to fill out a waiver. Her mother or parent had to sign that waiver saying, I allow my child to drop this ballot off. I think the post was very misleading, saying she was not informed that when she left, but it's very clear that there was a mistake. She wasn't offered that at the time, but by the time she left the office, she had the waiver with her to be able to fill out and bring the ballot back in. So if there's any media attention on that, but when the person left the office, they knew the proper protocols that they could follow. So, any other audience participation?
Tony, it's really good to see you back. I wish you very good health in your coming months here. Hope you get stronger day by day. I called the office yesterday to get a copy of the resolutions and was told that the law office is not permitting resolutions to be disclosed until after the work session.
Yeah, so they'll be available. We're going to be putting the agenda on publicly here after the meeting for everyone to view those resolutions and whatnot.
I would like the resolutions before the work session.
Okay, at this time, we are not giving them out because when they were given out prior to the meeting, there was a leak of one of the resolutions that was eventually going to be pulled, but they had no knowledge of that, and it became a news story. So at this time, we are not going to be releasing any of the resolutions until they become public, which is after the meeting.
Well, if you pull a resolution, wouldn't you be able to discuss that at the meeting, that it's being pulled to alleviate that?
A lot of times with the resolutions, it's sort of a working form. Our office works on them generally a week in advance, and we try to have a tentative list scheduled that is handed over to the commissioners by Friday afternoon. It doesn't always work that way, but that's sort of what our intention is. Sometimes what's on that list ends up for various reasons not being the final list that is brought here before them on Wednesdays. And that was the concern that happened last time whenever that list came out. One of the resolutions that was on there
Was being pulled.
it ended up being pulled, but before it was even pulled, it was leaked out to the media. So at this point, the direction has been given that once they come here, this is the final list. At that point, they'll be distributed to everyone.
Do all of you agree with
Well,
that?
I certainly don't appreciate getting a phone call asking about a resolution that I haven't seen yet. And that happened a couple of months ago. So I'm all in favor of ensuring that nothing goes public until I've had a chance to see those resolutions, which is usually the morning of the work session or the late afternoon the day before. In this case, I didn't see it. I got a phone call asking me about a resolution. Saying,
We were out of the office.
here's where it is. I was out of the office already. And I knew nothing about what they were talking about, because I had not seen it. So somehow we have to ensure, I think, that we have that information before we start getting stuff that may be leaked to the press. So,
Well, the resolutions come from downstairs to you.
understand?
So that leak is happening somewhere in that table.
It is not. It is not.
Well, I don't see how that could have happened.
Well,
But
who else has the resolutions other than the law department and the commissioner's office?
At that time, the controller had them. Not saying it was leaked from her office, but she was receiving them as well.
So if you're saying none of you did it, I was the only other one who had it and I leaked it, I take offense to that.
That's fine.
Because I got that call the same as you before I even had them.
I'm not,
I take big offense to that, thank you very much.
at this time, we are keeping them until we review them and they become public.
I have no idea where the leak came from. All I know was I didn't appreciate getting a phone call, asking me about something that I had not read yet. So,
That the recommendation from the law department was going to be to pull it.
right.
So,
Well, I just don't feel that that's a proper way for the transparency to the public to, because as you know, I like to review them before, especially for exonerations, to see what's going to happen within my office. And I don't have them to review. So I would hope that you would reconsider that as part of the sunshine law to make that available to the public.
County officials should be able to get it.
I don't believe the sunshine law has anything to do with these.
Well, you're going to be voting on them.
Yeah, and you will have them in the next half hour or so. I mean, when we have a public meeting.
It's really a matter of putting out accurate information, right? When a list of resolutions is being put out to you guys and to anybody really that ultimately isn't even being voted on, it's misinformation. So the way to provide more accurate information is to wait till after work session when we know what the complete accurate list of resolutions to be voted on is, and that's, you know, I think we both agree it's completely compliant with.
If our law department advised this board that we were violating the sunshine law by not releasing these until the work session approving them, then we would.
Yeah, you're not.
That's no issue.
This is almost like, this is almost the equivalency of a draft agenda, and you don't release draft agendas prior to the meeting. I mean, you can if you want, but there's no requirement that you have to. And this resolution list, until it comes here, is basically a draft resolution list after the work session, and at that point, that's the official resolution list that is released out to everyone, so that way they know here's what's going to be voted on tomorrow at the voting meeting.
That could open a lot of questions on a meeting coming out. The first time they'd read it is after the work session, so any questions anybody has on any of the issues can be brought up on the meeting date.
They
That
can be brought
could
up
be
tomorrow
a
at
tough
10
thing
a.m.
to
You're
do.
correct, Mr. Wood. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., any questions of these 34 resolutions can be brought up tomorrow, prior
Yeah.
to voting.
Yep,
There's a section on there that says comments for agenda items only.
very true.
So,
Is that after you vote?
no, it's prior. You were in this seat for 4 years. It's the third thing on the agenda. After we vote, we have comments on non-agenda items only. So, any other audience participation? Controller Longo.
I would just like it noted in the public records that I was accused of leaking to the media. I want it on record, I was not the one who did leak that. I have no problem with the resolutions and what you guys are doing. I'm good with that, if that you guys think I am. The leak is in your office and accusing me, I'm saying in public it was not me, and I'm offended if you did. Thank you very much.
Noted for the public record, but I don't think anyone up here accused you of leaking it. The question brought to us by Treasurer Egley was who else had the resolutions, and we simply answered that question.
And prior to that, you said it wasn't anyone in your office.
It could have been somebody else in your office. I don't know who had them in your office either. All we did was answer the question that Treasurer Egley asked us who else had them. No one accused you, but please have it for the public record that Controller Longo took offense to the comment of the answer to the question to Treasurer Egley. Anything else? We will move into executive session, not reconvene.
Correct.
Thank you.